Having a history of rough and tumble saloon shootouts, gambling that sometimes led to deathly outcomes, and brothels conveniently located for railroad workers, Taylor, Texas has many layers deep within its 150 years of history. Taylor, Texas is roughly 40 minutes outside of my hometown of Austin. Named after railroad magnate Edward Moses Taylor, it first formed as a township in 1876, consisting of migrant farmers from Germany, Czechoslovakia, and Austria. Even though it is a town located in central Texas, it was once considered a port city because of its immense railroad network. Port cities bring in a lot of transient energy, and with this comes dark energy that sometimes never leaves. Despite its history of rapid growth due to its thriving businesses, Taylor has been host of several lethal disasters. In 1879, after only 3 years since its inception, a fire was started at one of the downtown Taylor hotels and burned down 29 of its 32 businesses. There is no record of how many people died during this devastation, but in 1921, 87 Taylor residents died due to a flooding at the nearby San Gabriel River. Many of the town's current residents still report hauntings and strange goings-on, particularly the ones who live in the buildings that are part of the original town's history. I had the opportunity to take Gretchen's Spellcaster Ghost Tour, and though I understandably was not allowed to film the entire tour, I captured some essential moments. Such buildings that are a part of the tour that she mentions are the now vacant Howard Theater, where the bathroom lights mysteriously turn on and off, the Black Sparrow Music Bar, where it's said that a man was murdered during a poker game when the building was formerly a saloon, and 2nd Street Station, where former employees have seen beer glasses slide off the bar by themselves. Gretchen's tour was incredibly informative, and she is both knowledgeable and lovely. I have provided her website in the video description and highly recommend any of her tours. Another draw that lured me to this town was the site of the now sadly demolished Taylor Sanitarium. Though not many records show recordings of haunted history, the town locals have many instances where they have experienced spooky encounters before the place was demolished. Established in 1915, it was opened by Taylor physician Dr. Wiedmeyer, and it was a hospital mainly for women. Given that lobotomies were a common form of medical treatment at this time for women who were struggling with mental illness, it is highly likely that lobotomies were performed at this place. Rumored to be very haunted, I went to the site where the building stood before it was demolished in 2018, much to the dismay of native Taylor residents. I decided to sit on the very ground where the building once stood, both as a sanitarium as well as a retirement home. What I found was shocking.
just like this really interesting place. Every city is so different from the next one. You look at Georgetown, it's very shiny and it's very conservative. You look at Taylor and it's kind of like the slutty sister. The history here is way different and it's very intriguing. This was originally called Taylorsville. They knew that the International Great Northern Railroad was coming this way. It's the INGN Railroad, and they wanted to start populating the area. And so as the city is growing, or the town is growing over the next year, year and a half, you have a lot of people coming in from Czechoslovakia, Czech Republic or Czechia today, as well as Austria, Northern Germany, Prussia, and a lot of Northern European countries. They were running predominantly cotton, corn, and cattle, kind of the big 3 C's were coming out of here. And being a railroad town is very similar to being like a port city. So where you had Charleston, Savannah, Boston, New Orleans are all port towns. Taylor was a port on land, right? So you still had a very transient feel, people coming and going quite a bit. 1879, we now have 32 businesses open in Taylor. So it was a thriving entrepreneurial little kind of community until a fire hit. A fire got started at one of the hotels, one of the only hotels. It's called the Kemp Hotel. That fire took off like wildfire, and it actually destroyed 29 of those 32 businesses. So it completely decimated the town. The Taylor spirit was very strong. You know, rallied together and they started rebuilding. And so most of the cities, most of the buildings you see downtown today were built post the fire, obviously. The 1880s to early, probably 1910 will be the earliest one that we'll look at tonight. And it was kind of amazing. So they really kind of came together, they rebuilt their city. You asked earlier how we can walk around with drinks. So 1893, Taylor's population was now about 12 to 1,300 people. They had 17 saloons and 5 liquor stores. So they had priorities. Yeah. Williamson County had decided they wanted to go dry. Prohibition, actually when Texas was formally founded in 1848, it was supposed to all be dry, but it just didn't really stick. So Williamson County had a very heavy Methodist community, and Freemasons kind of founded that whole town, and they decided to go dry. Well, Taylor came back and said, if you make us go dry, we'll create our own county. So Williamson County said, all right, we'll do a compromise and we'll do a wet-dry vote every 2 years. So every 2 years, Round Rock, Taylor, and Georgetown voted wet or dry. And every 2 years, Georgetown voted dry until 2007. Taylor obviously voted wet until 1923. Votes got turned in, and there were like 22 votes that went over to vote them dry. Many people think that was rigged. So Taylor had to go dry. All the saloons and all the liquor stores shut down. 1925, the vote happens again. They get the wet vote one more time, and 13 saloons opened up overnight. So my guess is they weren't really closed. This building right behind me used to be called the Queen, and it was a vaudeville theater.
Gretchen told us that this building was long ago once the host of a brothel upstairs. This building supposedly inhabits spirits that lock people in the bathroom.
Can't get the door open, so they have to wait for somebody to come in and open the door. And some of the servers have said that they've seen what looks like a petite woman or a female child actually holding the doorknob.
This is the side of the building that used to host the brothel upstairs. You notice that the windows are boarded up because the second floor is condemned.
that's where it was. It was in 1925 is when they opened, and that was silent movie era back then. The Jazz Singer was released in 1927. That was the very first talkie. So it went to talkies, and it continued on in that blue building over there. In 1940, a movie theater called the Rita opened up, and the Rita is where the Howard is today. The Rita Theater showed what they called B movies, but back then B movies were second run. They weren't like what we would call a B movie today. So they showed second run films. The 1950s, the Rita closed down. The Howard basically bought that building, did a renovation on the inside. They extended it about 25 feet into the alley to make it larger. They just took their sign and moved the sign across the street, and then it became the Howard over there. So it was called the Howard because it was owned by a man named Howard Bland. So Mr. Bland had it in 1969, I think it was. It was sold to United Artists. And then in 1990, a descendant of Mr. Bland, he bought it and he ran it until 1999, and then he sold it, and another group came in and bought it. It continued operating up until the pandemic hit. They tried to do some private events inside there, but there was some flooding, there was some issues going on, so they kind of shut it down. They recently sold it, and it's a lovely woman. She's a local Taylor citizen. She owns another business here downtown. She bought it, and they're doing the entire restoration themselves. They're in there scraping walls and painting and really kind of doing some elbow grease inside. So fingers crossed it will open here soon. Talked about his but like the workers inside there, hearing disembodied footsteps and disembodied voices, and his projectionist would sometimes see a shadow figure in the projection booth. Years go on, he's hearing all of this grumble about it, and one day or one evening after a movie let out, he goes to do a theater check, and he walks down to the bottom of the theater, turns around, he's looking through all the rows to make sure everyone's out of the theater. When he starts coming back up, he sees what he thought was a man sitting in the very back row on the last chair. So he thought, well, I gotta go tell this guy to please go. And he makes his way towards this gentleman, and when he said he got about 4 or 5 rows from him, he watched the figure rise, turn to face the door, and then he just sort of evaporated. So there was all this concern on who this was and why was it in the Howard Theater. And it was the year of the pandemic. It was in 2020. A paranormal team came in and did an investigation inside. And they set up all their gear predominantly in the projection booth in one of the theaters. And I think they set it up in the men's restroom because there was things going on in the men's restroom. So they ended up getting some evidence. I think they got like an orb, they got some weird noises in the restrooms, and they actually heard, they got an EVP of a man's voice saying, "Oh God." It sounded a little bit, not like a shock, but more like a desperation. The IOOF, similar to the Freemasons, nowhere near as old as the Masonic. They're really interesting when you kind of dive into their rituals and all that they were doing. Their order was meeting here in the 1870s. They used to rent a space on 2nd Street. In 1904, they bought this plot of land. Back in the early 1900s, you could actually buy buildings out of catalogs. And what became very popular was casting on site. So this entire building was cast on site. It was finished in 1907.
This building was one of my favorite parts of this entire tour. You'll notice 1907. Below 1907, you'll see the letters IOOF that really stand for the secret society entitled International Order of Oddfellows. When the current owners of this building took it over, they renovated the inside and actually found several objects left over from the International Order of Oddfellows that were hidden in the wall. Some of the leftover belongings from the IOOF were ritualistic objects, and others were garb that were actually worn during ritualistic ceremonies. While giving the tour, Gretchen noticed that the lights were on upstairs, which she had never seen. In the upstairs space, this is where the Oddfellows used to do their rituals. Why were the lights on? What was going on up there? This next part of the tour is where Gretchen discusses the strange goings-on in the 2nd Street station. And while she was giving us the history of this building, I decided to pull out my Spirit Talker app and see if any of the spirits had anything to say. I didn't want to interrupt Gretchen while she was giving the tour, but when she was discussing a white mist that could be seen at this building, my Spirit Talker app said it disguises itself.
Turns around, the beer shoots behind the bar and slams into the wall and smashes. So they're all, gobsmacked what's going on with this. This goes on for a couple of months. It happens a handful of times. They decide to put cameras up. So they put cameras up, they roll on for a few weeks, it finally happens again. So they go and they pull the camera footage. They see the gentleman pour the beer, he puts the beer down, he turns around to go get some more beer. The camera goes fuzzy, comes back up, the beer has smashed. So none of it was recorded. Right, so I was like, this is almost too...
As Gretchen was talking about the beer smashing, my Spirit Talker app pulled up the word frequent. Were the spirits trying to tell us that they smashed beer glasses frequently?
considerate to the integrity and history of the building. So she did a ton of research.
This was the bonus part of the tour, where Gretchen took us in one of the back alleyways and told us some more haunted history. What she's pointing out is the alleyway which is behind the Black Sparrow. Long before it was the Black Sparrow, however, it was home to some grim history. When the building was originally a saloon, a poker game went horribly wrong, and a person who was caught cheating was actually murdered in this very alleyway. She also makes mention of a seance that was held very close by, and a psychic that was a part of this seance mentioned that she could see a man in this alleyway. While we were all gathered here listening to Gretchen, I couldn't help but feeling a very oppressive energy. Was it my claustrophobia, or was it residual energy from the murdered man? What's up, New Wavers? Welcome back to my channel. I am in Taylor, Texas, a very, very small town right outside of Austin. I actually just took the haunted tour with Gretchen, and it was absolutely everything. I didn't actually know that this town had a lot of history. There was a lot of Wild West lore. There were people that were killed. There's been some like Freemasonry drama. Like there's just so much stuff here, but I am super excited to actually introduce everyone to the footage that I took while I was on tour. I couldn't really record everything per the tour guide's wishes. She was pretty adamant about me not posting every single detail on YouTube, which I understand. This is her tour and I don't want to basically exploit it and put it out there online for everyone to see, but if you are ever in Taylor, Texas, take the Spellcaster Ghost Tour with Gretchen. She was absolutely amazing. But right now, where I am at, I am right outside of basically where the Taylor Sanitarium used to be. My hairstylist actually lives in Taylor. She's grown up here her whole life. She actually remembers going here as a kid or as a teenager, as teenagers do. Taylor Sanitarium, the building was actually, it used to stand here. It no longer does, because for whatever fucked up reason, somebody decided to tear it down. There used to be a lot of goings on, a lot of hauntings. Kids would basically sneak into the place, and they said that there was a little girl that used to actually haunt the place, and they would roll the ball to the little girl, and then the ball would basically roll back. And everybody basically would say, this is the little girl who haunts this place and she's just trying to play with you. My friend Donna, she also said that she would come here, she would stay outside, and some of her friends would go in and then just run out. They would all like run out in groups just screaming. And so I am at the place basically where Taylor Sanitarium used to be, is now an empty field. It's kind of weird because it's a very old neighborhood. There's all these Victorian houses that are around, and then it's just an empty field. That is where Taylor Sanitarium used to be. So let's go check it out. Let's see, let's open the spirit box. Maybe let me try and play with some tarot cards, and let's see what the spirits of this place that may or may not be still inhabiting it have to say. All right, here it is, everyone. The grounds of the Taylor Sanitarium. Stairs that lead to nowhere. You can definitely tell that a house used to actually be here. Wow. Wiedemeyer Hospital site. Occupied 1915 by early prominent physician, Dr. Wiedemeyer, native of Burton, Washington County, who came to Taylor. Hospital was continuously operated until 1957, then became a retirement home. Exterior is an original style, interior modernized. What exterior? Thanks. I'm guessing this is where the driveway, if that's the front, then this is where the driveway was. Oof. So I'm not complaining. Actually, yeah, I'm complaining. Taylor, Texas used to be a town where a lot of railroad tracks used to come, basically. So it was considered kind of like a port town. Because of that, a lot of train tracks, active train tracks, are still very popular in the city. I hear music, okay, whatever. But almost, I shit you not, probably every 10 or 15 minutes, I will hear a train coming through here, and it'll be loud as heck. One thing that'll actually make it really uncomfortable is there's a lot of cars that are also passing by this road right here. You can't see many of them. Of course, I turned my camera on and like there's nobody, but yeah, a lot of cars are passing. It's basically just an empty field, y'all. It's an empty field, but as soon as I got here, like, and I'm like walking on where Taylor Sanitarium and the hospital used to be, it doesn't feel right. Feels like a lot of people died here. Like, I have to kind of ask myself, would I have known this if I didn't already know somewhat of the history of this place? And I have to say, I mean, a field that's basically in the middle of a very old neighborhood, I mean, that's kind of fishy already, but if you stand here and you kind of take a deep breath and you kind of just listen and feel, it doesn't feel good. I hope nobody calls the police on me. It's just a random guy just hanging out in a field, taking videos with the flash on. And I hear noises coming from the different houses, so it's really hard to tell if it's actually coming from this field. Man. Hi, kitty. All these kitty cats. This is my second time doing this, but I have brought my tarot deck, Starman Tarot, if you can see. And the first time I read tarot on a paranormal investigation was in Devil's Den in San Antonio. And the very first card that I got was Death. My tripod just randomly fell over and there was no wind. But as a reminder, I'm on the site where the Taylor Sanitarium used to be. And I'm about to read the tarot deck. I'm shuffling right now, if y'all couldn't already tell. Shuffling. But I already was communicating with the spirits through the spirit talker, and basically it was telling me stuff like my name is Alice, I'm only 8, run. I think another one was you shouldn't be here. So these are all pretty clear messages. And if I'm not mistaken, I mean, like I said, my friend Donna, who's grown up in Taylor, Texas, said that a little girl used to actually haunt this place. So I'm guessing that the little girl was named Alice and she was only 8 years old when she died. As I continue to shuffle, I'm sure there's like houses all around me, and I'm sure people are probably looking out their window like, who the fuck is this psycho sitting in an empty field where a haunted sanitarium used to be, about to read some cards. So what I'm gonna do this time, the last time I think I felt a little bit more threatened. I was in a forest by myself. I felt like I could only draw one, and then something was basically telling me to leave. It didn't feel safe, it didn't feel comfortable. But here, it's a lot less isolated. I still hear some noises that are around me sometimes, but I want to actually do a proper tarot reading and draw 3 cards. My style of tarot, there's many different ways to read some tarot cards. My style of tarot is to draw 3 cards. The first card that you draw is where you're at now. So in this case, it would be where the spirits of Taylor Sanitarium are at now. The second card would be the epiphany that the spirits need who haunt or still haunt Taylor Sanitarium. So basically like the realization that they need, the feedback that they need. Finally, the third card would be where that feedback or where that epiphany is going to take them. Spirit guides, please give me messages from spirits who may or may not still inhabit the space that I'm sitting on, spirits that still inhabit the Taylor Sanitarium, Dr. Wiedmeyer's hospital. I would love to hear from the spirits that may still be walking these grounds. If you could please give me a sign, if you could please give me 3 succinct messages through these tarot cards that I'm about to draw from. All right, so we got the King of Swords. Tarot card number 2. So first, so far we have King of Swords. We have 8 of Cups. And finally, we have the Princess of Pentacles. So this is what they look like when they've all been drawn, and they're all basically sitting next to each other. So again, we have the King of Swords, the 8 of Cups, and the Princess of Pentacles. King of Swords is where the spirits are at now. The 8 of Cups is what the spirits need to hear, and the Princess of Pentacles is where this advice will take them. So like I said, the reason why that I love the Starman Tarot deck is because it actually comes with a full book of descriptions for every single card that comes in this tarot deck. So let's look up King of Swords. This is where the spirits are at right now. So according to this tarot deck, the spirits believe in a fair world for all. The King of Swords indicates that you are in the position to critically assess powerful situations around you, aligning them with your ethics and your belief that everyone should be given a fair chance to learn, grow, contribute, and prosper. Given a clear perspective, you can calmly formulate a workable plan and strategy to pursue an ideal, no matter what the obstacles are. My tripod has fallen probably 4 times tonight, so I don't know what that says, but let's continue. Gather all the facts. Synthesize a logical solution benefiting all. Resilient to pain. Use your intellect to grow and prosper. Pursue your ideals. So I'm thinking to applying this to the current state of the spirits who may or may not still inhabit this place. You know, I'm thinking that there was a lot for them to basically prosper at the time. I'm kind of almost thinking about, I don't want to overthink too deeply, but I'm almost thinking that when they were alive, healthcare looked so medieval, and this could be talking to the people that died here. This could be talking to the doctors that may still haunt this place. I also think it was kind of unfair that the place, the building that they knew to be home, is now a field. So let's look at the second card, the Eight of Cups. The Eight of Cups, the second card, like I said in a tarot drawing, at least my version of a tarot drawing, the second card is basically the advice or the realization that the person who the tarot is about needs to hear. So let's look up the meaning of Eight of Cups. Let's look up the message that the spirits basically need to hear in this exact moment. I seek answers to life's big questions. The Eight of Cups suggests that there is much wisdom and guidance to be gained wherever you are if it's your intention. Creating sacred space to sit in nature, as I'm sitting in a field. Creating sacred space to sit in nature away from the habitual rhythm of life may also be very valuable. So it's almost like it's telling the spirits, like, you can rest, it's okay. You might have had a really crap life, you might have seen some really, really medieval stuff, but you can rest now. That's essentially what this is telling me. As the having and doing fall away, the being is left. Oh, that's beautiful. As the having and doing falls away, the being is left. In this culture, we are conditioned to do the opposite, to focus on what we must have materially in our lives, don't I know that, and do the work to manifest it in order to be happy. Be happy and let everything else find its place. So really, I think what this tarot reading is telling me, I think the spirits that may still be here, is that it's okay, you can rest. You can kind of take a deep breath and you can cross over, you can go home. You don't have to feel trapped in this. Like, even though the building itself was demolished, you might still be feeling the need to live here and inhabit this field, but you can go home. You don't have to keep chasing whatever you were chasing when you were alive. Just heard noise. And finally, the realization will lead to this for spirits. So if the spirits basically make the realization that they do not have to keep chasing, keep kind of spiraling in the same loop that they were when they were alive, this will bring them to the Princess of Pentacles. Princess of Pentacles, according to this, is I value all of life. Princess of Pentacles invites us to consider how we are making solid, grounded foundations and preparations for what we ultimately value and hope to achieve in life. It suggests that we have much in abundance already and to not squander precious resources frivolously. She reminds us to seed, plant, and grow our vision one step at a time. Be observant and resourceful. Look to the little details. Enjoy collaboration. And basically, you kind of see the picture that it is. What I'm getting out of this is once the spirits learn to kind of stop in their tracks and kind of let all of the material stuff go, it's actually going to bring them to, it even says, I don't know if you guys can see it, but it even says the airy part of earth. Once the spirits are able to cross over, they're going to basically enjoy life again, or enjoy whatever kind of realm that they exist in. It asks us, consider our values as well. And maybe it's asking the spirits here, Consider your values. You know, would you want your ancestors to know that you are kind of trapped in this space? Or can you move on? So you are free to move on, spirits. The tarot just said it, whether or not you believe in it. The tarot just said you are free to move on. You are free to go. You do not have to stay in this place anymore. You're free to go. You're free to cross over to the other side. And it's okay. This will take you to a higher power. This will take you to a more evolved realm. This will take you to a place of rest. And whatever spirits that are still here, thank you for communicating with me today. Thank you for communicating with me, and you are also free to go. You are free to leave. You are free to pass on. You are free to go to the other side. You no longer need to feel trapped in this space where your home used to be on. Well, that is Taylor, Texas in a nutshell. There's a old haunted sanitarium that is no longer there, but the field is wide open for weirdos like me to go and read tarot on. There's a wonderful, wonderful ghost tour that you can take. So many buildings have hauntings. I actually ran into somebody at a part of the tour that we actually took, stopped at different bars that you could actually go inside and take breaks, go to the bathroom, order a drink, and somebody randomly just started talking to me about how they used to live in downtown Taylor and they would hear things all the time. And I can usually tell when someone is putting me on, but this guy had a pretty spooked look on his face that he found out that I was from the ghost tour. All in all, this was a very, very fun trip. Taylor, Texas is right outside of Austin, Texas. If any of you are wanting a amazing tour, as well as to just really check out some old Texas history, some of it is a little dark. But if you enjoy this video, if you look forward to more paranormal investigations brought to you by yours truly, if you are interested in how the heck a paranormal investigator is also a psychotherapist, if you want to see me do more tarot cards on very haunted sites, go like and comment, and you know the drill. If we vibe, subscribe. Mwah.